This is every NFL team's biggest weakness entering the 2025 season. Starting off with the AFC North, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Their biggest weakness this year is the defensive line. This is a team with very few weaknesses, and they run a base 3-4 most of the time, so their linebackers end up being their main rushers. But I would say their nose tackle and their edge are technically their weakest points, maybe next to kicker. Next up is the Bengals, and their biggest weakness is just generally defense. More specifically, their secondary, well, because I think their defensive backs are extremely weak, but I could seriously see this defense being the worst in the league. The Steelers' biggest weakness is their offensive line. Now, Aaron Rodgers is old, but he's a solid QB. However, behind the Steelers' Swiss cheese offensive line, he may just retire early. Then to wrap up the division, we have the Cleveland Browns, whose biggest weakness is their offense. Let's face it, both their pass and run game are going to be rough, so it was really hard to pick one. But if I had to pick, it would be running back, since Flacco can at least have some surprise. Starting the AFC North, we have the Detroit Lions, whose biggest weakness is their corners, and more specifically their nickel corner. Terrion Arnold has just been disappointing so far, and their other corners are okay at best. They'll rely heavily again on their safety help. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings, and their biggest weakness is also corner. They just lack a ton of DB depth, and Harrison Smith, despite how good he is simply just aging. After them is the Green Bay Packers, who also need some corner help. And I promise corner is not the answer every time, it just happened this way. Anyway, the Packers just lost Jair Alexander, and they didn't replace him with anyone on their defense, leaving a huge hole. And to wrap up the division, we have the Bears, whose biggest weakness right now to me is their running game. Their running game is just not a threat, and DeAndre Swift does not excite me in the least. I expect their passing game to suffer just a bit due to this. Now starting the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills, whose biggest weakness is safety. And let's just face it, Damar Hamlin is not good enough. I fear this team will get no safety help deep. Next up is the rival Dolphins, whose biggest weakness to me is also corner. You know, for a team that plays Josh Allen twice a year, you'd think they'd have someone better than Storm Duck at corner too. Next up is the Patriots, whose biggest weakness to me right now is still wide receiver. A washed up Stephon Diggs coming off an ACL tear is not enough to convince me that this room is legit. Honorable mention to that safety room as well. Drop a follow and check our profile for part 2.